Hey guys, Cam for 15 back out with another video for you guys, and I am back on the sports channel talking some more Clippers basketball. I know, I haven't been talking about the Clippers because it's just been a shitstorm with what's been going on. This Pablo Torre report that the Clippers have been circumventing the cap and aspiration, the former ticket company or the sponsor of the Clippers, you know has secretly been paying essentially or helping the Clippers pay Kawhi under the table and yada yada yada. Look, I still to this day don't even know what the hell's going on. All I know is the investigation is coming out and the NBA is investigating to see if the Clippers did this. Right? So it hasn't been something cool to figure out. And here's the thing. I hope that all this report was BS, so then Pablo Torre can essentially be be called out, and then he could probably get sued by Steve Ballmer for defamation. Anyways, and right now, probably the only guy that I see that is playing the look, dude, they didn't do it is probably Mark Cuban. So respect to Mark Cuban. Now, Mark Cuban did say if any of this circumventing the cap ends up to becoming true, then he will definitely condone the Clippers and condone Steve Ballmer for it. Where I'm sitting at personally, if you ask me, where I'm sitting at this whole situation, I don't really see, I don't know, man. I don't really think nothing's gonna happen outside of maybe just a simple fine and stuff like that. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But personally, it also leads into the topic of this video of how bad the Clippers messed this whole thing up and how bad that the Clippers are at bowing down to the guy of the likes of Kawhi freaking Leonard and basically agreeing to every single demand this dude put in your organization because you're dang desperate to go try to win a dang championship without doing the due diligence of your homework to make sure you are doing things in good faith and in good bed. And hopefully, this is a wake up call for the future for this organization when you're going out there in free agency trying to sign these big name superstar players to go do your homework and make sure that these guys ain't trying to do no shady stuff behind your back or trying to negotiate in bad faith with you to try to make you do these things that you probably should not be doing and giving into the demands of why you should not be doing this. I don't care that the NBA is a players league. I don't care. Guess what? You're the owner, you're the GM, you cut the check for these players. These players play for you and I don't care how crazy I'm talking, that's the truth. They are employed by said organization. They're the ones getting paid crazy amount of money. So, rightfully, owner and GM tells a player what to do. I don't care how great you are. And it should always be the sentiment. You want to be a problem? I don't care how talented you are. Go be somebody else's problem then. And if we suck at it, well, then too dang bad. I've said it time and time again. I'm done with this whole Kawhi era, this whole 2-1-3 era of Clippers basketball. And also, background information apologies for me with the eye black and the baseball jersey. I just got back home from doing an employee softball tournament. I went 0 for 6, 5 Ks, 1 ground out. I had a terrible performance and I look like I'm a professional baseball player. I know, I dressed up like that. But regardless, the whole point still stands is that it further goes to show you how sick and tired of the 2-1-3 era I've been when it comes to Clippers basketball. It's just been an absolute shit show and a moment in time that I want to forget. I don't care what anybody says. This has been the worst era of Clippers basketball to date and in Clippers basketball history. We were promised a championship from the likes of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They were brought here to bring a championship, and because these losers failed to do that, we lose out on so many draft picks. We lose out on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and next thing you know, the team we traded all those assets away to won a championship before we did. And then you find out that this information about circumventing the cap comes out of the blue. And then now today, this morning, it ended up coming from an ESPN reporter. His name is Baxter Holmes, about talking about and breaking down the tumultuous era of Clippers basketball under Kawhi. And basically coming out saying that staffer that essentially saying the headlines of this article basically saying that the Clippers are essentially ready to move on and they are done with building around Kawhi Leonard. Hold on just a second. Back. Really? They should have been done building around with Kawhi Leonard after the 2023 season. If you follow me on Twitter, same at CamFree15 just though, without the talking sports. No one, when you talk about my time, as of late, when it comes to Clippers basketball, after the 2023 abysmal season we had, I was done with this era. Because that was legitimately the last chance we had to ever win a championship. And when we lost in the first round and Kawhi got hurt again and Paul George got hurt again, that's when I knew the window was shut because I knew you could not trust these injury-prone superstar players to try to win you a championship. It's over, blow it up, trade them away, get whatever you can for them, and you move on and you start the next new era of Clippers basketball. But yet, I was called up by other Clipper fans talking about how much of a dumbass idiot I am and how much of a moron I am and how much, well, you can't trade him because you're not going to get your assets back. I don't care. You trade them away and you hope a team is stupid enough to give you a first round pick for an injury prone player. Because guess what? What they do, they're just as desperate as you were back in 2019. I've been saying this since then. And people who know me, who follow my tweets, who follow my Twitter, know that I've been speaking this since that year. And if you want to think that I'm a liar, go back and go across my timeline till 2023, and you can go find up the receipts and show that I have vehemently said we need to blow it up. And I don't care. I continue to still say this to this damn day. Blow up this damn ship. Stop going after these old veteran dudes to try to go out there and try to go win. I don't care about what they put out on the court. It's a lame excuse to try to go say, well, we're going to be competitive for 2026 or 2025. We're trying to be competitive, guys. No, you're running out the same thing. And if Kawhi Leonard's on my team, I expect nothing less than a championship. Because the goal was you're bringing a championship to this damn organization. Otherwise, this was a colossal waste of my damn time as a fan. It's an absolute joke. And then this report comes out today. It just further confirms the fact of guess what? We should have moved off this guy years ago. Because apparently there's staffers within the Clippers that essentially got tired of Kawhi's antics as well. Who would have thought that? The most secretive guy that keeps to himself, who's a mute, and he doesn't do anything to promote the brand, doesn't do anything to support the Clippers, doesn't even come out unless he needs to talk to somebody at the media. Not shocking why some staffers are sick and tired of the bullshit that Kawhi Leonard is. And the fact that those same staffers think and can't wait to move on him because they're sick and tired of all the crap that's been going on under this era. Sounds like some of these staffers just feel like some of the fans in the fan base where they're just sick and tired of this crap because they know at the end of the day it's the same fucking result. And you want to know what I find most funny about this situation? You know what I find so funny? It took them to finally realize all these reports, all these bad publicity things that sting on the damn Clippers. It's coming out after we finally had one healthy playoff run with Kawhi, and it still resulted in the team getting a first round exit. I find that really funny how all this news comes out after one healthy pro season run with Kawhi, and we still got eliminated in the first round. So it really goes to show you we've been wasting our time with this guy since 2023. Because at the end of the day, it was the same exact result we were getting, whether this guy was injured or not. Let's get to this damn article. So, Baxter Holmes, he's an ESPN reporter, I think in Los Angeles, right? He basically, in the first part, talks about yada, 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 about the Clippers wanting to change things and things like that, and talking about, the blockbuster, acquisition. So anyways, he goes in and say during the sixth season since the Clippers are hold on. Of 11 years later, Ballmer's biggest and most ambitious bet to deliver a championship or even the franchise's first NBA Finals appearance has failed on the court. During 6 seasons since the Clippers' blockbuster 2019 acquisition of superstar Kawhi Leonard, the team has just won 3 playoff series. Kawhi Leonard, in that case, has only played only 58% of the game. So this dude's barely played over half of the games. Realistically, he only played over 8% more of games than just happily being there. But with that failure, extends further because from the nearly since moment Leonard signed with the Clippers, Ballmer and the team have also drawn unprecedented and serious scrutiny from the NBA league office and the rest of the NBA. Since 2019, the Clippers have faced 2 separate lawsuits alleging tampering violations involving Leonard, one which remains ongoing. They have been fined at least twice by the NBA for violations of the league rules involving Kawhi Leonard, and there has also been at least 3 NBA investigations, the latest of which began into the Clippers involving Leonard, obviously referring to the circumventing the cap situation. The shadow of the latest one, which examined the allegations the Clippers circumvented the salary cap, with Leonard receiving a $28 million sponsorship deal from the company Aspiration, a now bankrupt company that Ballmer invested $50 million into, will hover over the team entering training camp. And they already posted their training camp photos. And it could continue into the season. Following a summer in which the Clippers tried to bolster a roster that won 50 games last season before losing the first round to Nikola Jokic, who, coincidentally enough, his Serbia team went out in the first round too. Exact same situation that should have happened in the playoffs. They reunited with 40-year-old Chris Paul, who's probably the only good player that'll actually go out on this team outside of maybe Zubac and Batum that I'll support on this damn team. Which I still have yet to go get my Chris Paul jersey. I will probably get my Chris Paul jersey opening night. They also added another old player in Bradley Beal, even though he's 32. They still have 36-year-old James Harden, and they got John Collins. They also signed another old center in Brook Lopez to be the backup to Zubac. But the team centerpiece remains Leonard, who will be paid $50 million next season and is eligible for an extension next summer. Do not give it to him. Several rival executives said the Clippers' initial investment in Leonard, though it came at what was deemed a steep cost, was a smart move that any team would have made at the time, especially one with Clippers' long track record of dysfunctional and losing history. But now, those same executives all judge the return on that investment in the same way. Apparently, an anonymous rival GM told ESPN, looking back, the deal was a effing disaster. I agree. The guy's been injured for multiple years. You have not made it out of the first round since 2021. And the guy, when you need him to be there, he doesn't show up because he's hurt. A disaster. Interviews with nearly 24 team sources, former staffers, and rival executives, agents, and other across the league convey the same. They reveal how a team desperate, exactly the exact same words I said when we made that damn trade. The Clippers were a desperate team because they were afraid of the team up to 5 and playing in downtown LA in Crypto.com Arena, the Los Angeles losers, aka the Lakers. They were afraid that they would go get Kawhi. because their big move was Anthony Davis. The same Anthony Davis they traded away for Luka Doncic. Huh. Shows you how desperate they were. And they did that move without doing the due diligence and just asking, letting OKC say, well, we want this, 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 this. And the relevance capitulated to Leonard and those around him, seeking to keep him happy and healthy. Even as the organization's culture developed into an internal mixture of fear and secrecy, and what they mean by that is the secrecy of hiding the injuries and the hiding the fact of how players are have these injuries and how severe that their injuries are. The Clippers always played this fucking trick during this era. They did it going back to the 2021 playoff run to the Western Conference Finals. Kawhi Leonard tweaked his or tore his ACL. The Clippers clearly knew he tore his ACL, but you want to know what they did? In those last few games against the Jazz and in those games against the freaking Suns, they always say, oh, well, he's day to day. He's just got a knee sprain. He may come back for this game. Get the fans' hope to think he has a chance at coming back. And then a few months after we got eliminated, they announced he had a torn ACL. They did that for countless years, here and there throughout the time, where whether it wasn't just Kawhi, it was also Paul George, because the organization only worried about money and ticket sales to the point that they would openly go lie their face to the fans and keep secrets that as if Kawhi or Paul George wasn't as badly injured as they were. But in reality, they knew deep down, no, he's really hurt. But we'll just list him as day to day, and maybe he may play this game because we wanted the fans to come out to the building and pay their hard-earned cash. So then, in hopes we can get the ticket sales up, and we don't have to worry about the fans, basically not showing up because, well, guess what? Kawhi's not playing. No. Instead of just being honest from the jump and saying, no, Kawhi's going to be out maybe a month or two, that's the case. Fine. If they came out and said that, fine. That only incentivizes fans to know, okay, then I'll just go to the game. Otherwise, it'll just incentivize the fans, okay, then I won't go to the game. And mostly, if it's just Kawhi stands, they won't go to the game regardless. Because guess what? They're not going to go watch the team that they don't really like. They only like the team for the player. So why are they going to waste their money to go to a Clipper game when Kawhi's not playing? If I'm a fan, I'd rather pay hard-earned money knowing, okay, best player on the team is probably going to be out, or is going to be out, and he won't be seen for the foreseeable future. As opposed to the fact that, oh, I'm going to buy tickets to a game to hope that Kawhi plays, and then I get to the announcement when they announce the starting lineups at the game, and then he ain't playing. This last investigation is different. A former Clipper staffer said of leaks inquiry into the sponsorship deal the company that Ballmer invested in. This one directly calls into question Steve Ballmer's character. At some point, this old staffer said, Steve has got to get out of the Kawhi business. Thank you, whoever said that, because he is 100% true. Because of this circumventing the cap situation, this has made Steve Ballmer's character take a hit. And now, if any event or any of this shit comes out to be any remotely close true, even if Ballmer had no idea what was going on behind the scenes, like he said, he doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes. If any, in fact, of the circumventing the camp comes out to be true, that only hurts Ballmer's reputation. And guess what? Ballmer has nobody but to blame but his own damn self, because you invested not only in this shady ass company, not doing the due diligence with these guys, you also, did this because you're trying to keep a superstar that is injury prone, that barely shows up, barely promotes your brand, barely does anything for your brand, and you try to put a blind eye towards it. I don't like Paul George, but at least with Paul George, at least he repped the fucking brand. He enjoyed being a Clipper in his time here. But you get my point. Steve Ballmer bent over for Kawhi Leonard and took it up the butt. On July 5th, 2019, Clippers executives sat together in a conference room on a high-rigorous co-working space in El Segundo, California. The walls were thin with anxiety for high, yada, yada, yada. They had met Leonard 4 days earlier, and after learning that he would sign with the Clippers only if they acquired Paul George from the Oklahoma City Thunder, they almost had spent the entire time since then working to hammer out a deal with the Thunder. Obviously, we know what happened. Ballmer was concerned by the number of draft picks the team was giving up. Then Clippers head coach Doc Rivers later told reporters in September 2019 he wasn't the only one to feel the same exact way. Doc Rivers has gone on record and he did say that he did not like the fact that the team was giving up all these picks for this one dude. Now, this article goes on to say that Steve Ballmer also apparently did not like this. Now, Steve Ballmer is the head honcho. He can approve the deals and the trades and stuff. He gives Lawrence Frank the A-OK. So, Steve Ballmer, if you had concerns about how many draft picks you were giving up, well, then why did you give Lawrence Frank the okay to call up OKC and say, we'll do the trade? Why are you as an owner not doing your due diligence and saying to Lawrence, hey, man, look, I know we want to get this guy, but is there any other way we can get this dude without giving up all these picks? And if Lawrence Frank is saying, hey, man, they're being really stern with their offer, man, it's either we agree to it or not. And if you have any concerns as an owner about how much capital you're giving up, then maybe you just tell your dude, be like, you know what? Okay, it's not worth it then. Because we got to only look for long-term flexibility for the future, but at the same time, look at the here and now. As an owner, the right thing to do is tell your GM, hey, give OKC a call, tell him, give him one more chance and say, like, hey, let's lower the offer. Let's not give up so many picks and maybe a player in Shea that we really like. Can we just give up maybe these picks and that's it? And if OKC is still not budging, then you hang up the call and you say, okay, thank you for doing business. Sorry we couldn't get this to happen. But no, they didn't do that. They blindly did the trade because they heard all the reports that apparently Kawhi was going to go to the Lakers and they were getting fucking desperate and they were thinking, oh shit, he's going to go to the rival team. We're going to get shit talked on the national media because we couldn't get this guy to sign with us. And guess what? Now the Lakers are going to continue to own LA and their fans are going to be freaking doing that. Maybe our fans will hate us for not getting Kawhi Leonard. That's not the optics of their thinking. You don't need to be worried about what the Lakers are doing. Don't worry about what the team with the 5 is doing, or at the time, across the hall was doing. Worry about what you can control. And if OKC was asking for too much, and you as an owner, and as the head coach, felt concerned about that, then maybe that just tells you, maybe we should not do this deal if we got any reservations. Because if you have any concerns, any thoughts like saying, I don't know, maybe we should not do this deal, then that's just telling you, do not do the deal. Some staffers feel the deal would have similar ramifications to the infamous 2013 Boston-Brooklyn swap when the Celtics acquired 3 first-round draft picks and a first-round pick swap in return for 2 aging stars in Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. The trade that ultimately set up the Celtics getting Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who ended up getting them the 2024 NBA championship. Guess what? We're already at that point. OKC got their championship. They got Shai Gilgeous. They got Jalen Williams. They got the other players, Chet Holmgren, all these other picks that benefited off of us. And they got their championship. So we essentially did do the exact same thing the Brooklyn Nets did. The Clippers meanwhile, the Nets became a nothing team and the deal became a cautionary tale. The Clippers were also nervous about trading Shai Gilgeous. It is also common fact and known the Clippers realistically did not want to trade him because they knew Shai had the talent. They were very high on him. But clearly they weren't high enough because they were fucking desperate. But just 2 weeks earlier, Kawhi Leonard has won a title with the Raptors. He was uninterested in waiting on a young player to develop. Meanwhile, you look at the Raptors roster, and they had role players. Acquiring George was one of several requests made by Kawhi Leonard in his camp, led by the infamous Uncle Dennis. Fuck that guy. Who outlined a series of asks to the Clippers leading in the days leading up to July 5th. Those requests included part ownership, access to a private plane, a house, and guaranteed off court endorsement money, one source with direct knowledge of the talks said. Those were the exact same requests that Uncle Dennis laid out to the Lakers and the Toronto Raptors, who essentially all said, fuck no, we're not doing that. The Toronto Star reported on September 9th that the Robertson also asked for the Raptors for ownership stakes in the outside companies and corporate sponsorship deals in which Leonard wouldn't have to do anything in return for the money. Robertson did not respond to requests for comment for either story. The verbal request fell outside the boundaries of the league's collective bargaining agreement, and while the Clippers didn't say yes to them, they did say yes to the others, according to a source with the knowledge of the talks. Now, when you go back to that, I definitely do agree they said no to the part-time ownership, but clearly they definitely said yes to the endorsement, off-court endorsements. That for a fact is true. This aspiration shit, right? Then you can also look into the private plane. I am completely not surprised if the dude had a private plane. Sometimes we see this guy hanging out in fucking San Diego catching a Padres game. How would he be out there? There's no shot he's driving to San Diego from Los Angeles. That's a fairly far drive. I made that drive to San Diego this previous summer. It is not a fun drive. Well, it's not a bad drive, but you get my point. You're not driving there. You're taking a plane into San Diego's airport. More than likely, I know he has a private fucking plane. I would not be shocked if the Clippers gave him that. And more than likely, he probably does have a private plane. What is it? They also asked for a house. We know fucking Kawhi Leonard has this crazy penthouse, essentially. He has this crazy house he's living in. Clippers probably gave that to him just to get him and agree to that. So that makes things. So 3 of the 4 points add up, which means clearly the Clippers said, sure, you get your own plane. Sure, we'll get you your house. We'll get you a house. Sure, we'll get you some sponsorship dudes. The verbal request, yeah, I said that. Robertson, who did not respond to requests for a comment on the story, wanted Leonard to be able to initially live in San Diego rather than in Los Angeles. Leonard would commute via helicopter, aka private helicopter, private plane. The Clippers agreed. He wanted Leonard to skip some of the media obligations in the team community events. The Clippers agreed. He wanted the team to promise the market Leonard individually. The Clippers agreed to his own people and to the organization to bring some of Kawhi Leonard's own dudes, basically his own medical people, his own guys in the building. The Clippers said, sure. A team source disputes the existence of some of these requests and the tone of some others. Perhaps most importantly, Robertson said there would be a strict protocol about how to talk about Kawhi Leonard publicly, and that was to say nothing unless absolutely necessary. Rival head coaches told ESPN that the last request is not unusual for stars. The Clippers, seeking to establish themselves as a star-friendly organization, again agreed. They badly wanted Leonard. They had even fired one of their own broadcasters, Bruce Bowen, who, remember, he used to play for the Spurs at the same time Kawhi played for the Spurs, and he was the color commentator. And they fired him because they know, well, Bruce Bowen probably's got beef with Kawhi from his poor exit in San Antonio, because he made negative comments about Kawhi Leonard on the air. Clippers made the move. It shocked the NBA. And then the Paul George news broke. 4 days later, he signed a $103.1 million deal that included a player option in the final season. Excitement swept over the franchise. Obviously, us as fans were happy about that, and stuff like that. Sources also say a separate emotion began creeping its way into the organization, one that would become deeply entrenched in the days, weeks, and years ahead. It ultimately defined the culture as much as the team's aspirations to win a title with new superstar forward aboard. The feeling, they say, was fear. NBA teams have long lived in fear of setting their stars in a sentiment that predates Leonard's arrival with the Clippers. Given the Clippers' past and future they hoped to forge, that dynamic was compounded. The Clippers were desperate to prove that they knew how to accommodate star players, according to team sources, and agents with close ties to the team, and that was far removed from the scandal-plagued loss-filled losing era under Sterling. And that obviously is in reference to the fact that the Clippers basically bent over their back for any demands that Kawhi and Paul George asked, and we already know whatever request they asked for. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, Kawhi, we'll give that for you. We'll take it right up the ass for you. And that means we can keep you guys happy. That's why the Clippers ended up becoming Paul George's best friend club. And they basically realized when this guy was asking for crazy money, they said, you know what? We're done with you. We're done with the fact that you asked for all these things. And then guess what? You're not giving us a good return on our investment. It was November 6th there because they're talking about the low management stuff, right? Yada yada yada. Back-to-back knee injuries for the young season, and he started to do the back-to-back stuff. You know, it basically goes on about that and everything. Um, so yeah. Looking more into this article, they talk about the secrecy intentions of his health. They talk about there was clearly a heightened sensitivity about it. Everyone's so uptight, and that's basically referencing the fact, again, the duping of the fans. They knew Kawhi may be really hurt more than not. Or in some cases, Kawhi is fine, but hey, he don't want to play this game. And the Clippers, they got to play it off the fans. Oh, well, he slightly got an injury. He slightly got an injury. Yada, 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 right? So that's the thing, right? Um, they continue to go in depth about the injury stuff. They even bring up the Team USA crap about everything and stuff like that. So, and again, they continue to talk about the secrecy and stuff like that. Obviously last year, October 10th, Randy Shelton, a former Clipper strength and conditioning coach, filed a lawsuit against the team and Frank about the working relationship about Kawhi Leonard. I do remember that. Talking about how he was wrongfully he basically said that the team tampered to get Kawhi Leonard and that they wrongfully terminated him because he was bringing up issues about Kawhi's injury management and how the team was managing that and stuff like that. So yeah, and they basically kind of, in a weird way, kind of paid this guy under the table to keep his mouth shut, and stuff like that. So yeah, um, that's the thing there. And then it's kind of they just go into crazy stuff, right? More about his Kawhi injury stuff and things like that, and that's kind of thing. Regardless, basically this whole article, because it'd be too long to go in, it's talking about the fact that the Clippers are legitimately sick and tired of Kawhi Leonard now. I don't know if this is gonna. I don't know if now because the Pablo Torre thing is they're kind of putting heat pieces on Kawhi to say look, it's clear at the end of the day as I end this video off. They're trying to distance themselves from Kawhi Leonard. It's very much clear they are done with the Kawhi vortex. They are done with the Kawhi experiment. They know it's a failed thing and they want to try to get rid of it. Personally, if you ask me, if you really want to be done with Kawhi Leonard, why not just fucking cut him? Eat your fucking dead money and cut him and let him be somebody else's problem. Be done with it. Why do you have to continue to employ this guy on the roster and it's clear he's become more problems than not? All these investigations that have been popping up because of his secrecy, all these injuries and the fact that he hasn't been reliable, you know, it's clear cut. It's understandable. The Clippers are sick and tired of this now. And I think this Pablo Torre report is probably the breaking straw to the point they probably finally realized, yeah, we need to get off this guy now. He's becoming more of a problem than a positive. And because of it, he's 100% becoming a pain in our asses. He's tanking our brand because we bent over backwards and we took it up the ass and we agreed to every single demand him and his uncle made. So it goes to show you that the Clippers are now finding out the errors of their way and they're understanding that they realize they put themselves in a fucked up situation. And if these guys just had did the right thing and did their due diligence before signing this guy, none of this shit would have happened. Maybe we don't have Kawhi on the team. And we don't have Paul George on the team. Maybe we still have all our draft picks that we could use to go get one of these other superstars in free agency that are going to be coming up soon. We would still have Shea. The Clippers are finally finding out a little too late that they gave the contract and they signed the wrong guy. It's about time that they finally admit that, and it's about time that they finally admit that they are ready to move on. So when the year of 2027 comes, whether they get players in free agency, superstar players in free agency or not, guess what? You better not bring back number 2 back. And if he still wants to go play basketball, let him go be somebody else's problem. Now, I don't know if the NBA can void this dude's contract to let this guy off the Clippers. That would be absolutely amazing in my book. If they were to void the contract, he's immediately off the Clippers. I'd be celebrating. But the NBA is not going to do that. But it really goes to show you, this is what happens when you try to sacrifice everything for these superstar players in the NBA. And they create more problems than not. All these investigations come out throughout his tenure with the Clippers. All these issues. All this publicity. Especially from the national media on your team. Was it really all worth it? Clearly, the Clippers are finally admitting it wasn't. And we should have moved off on this guy a long time ago. It's like I said, you should have moved off on this guy in 2023. And you should have told this guy, kick fucking rocks. So, it's kind of the thing that, you know, the Clippers found out too little too late. And if there is any truth with the fact that the Clippers are done building around Kawhi, finally, I tip the cap to them. Because guess what? They finally woken up and they finally realized what me and some other fans have realized about Kawhi. And that he's a no good player that just essentially held your team back. And you finally realized we wanted to be stopped being the type of guy that takes it up the butt and agrees to everything he said. And realistically, I think this started once we got rid of Paul George. When Paul George asked for these crazy-ass demands in his contract negotiation, I think the Clippers realized, oh, hell no, we're not doing this shit. And I think that's when they realized, for far too long, we put our organization at the behest of these two dudes, thinking that they're bigger than the organization. Now, we need to do what's right for the organization, and we need to stand our fucking ground. I applauded the Clippers for moving off on Paul George and telling him to kick rocks and say, fuck out of here, bro. We're not giving you a no-trade clause. We're not giving you a max contract. Because guess what? You haven't earned either one of that shit. And you see how he's playing in fucking Philadelphia. And the same thing's here. They got sick and tired of the fact of now that the reputation of the organization, the owner's character, is being questioned about circumventing the cap and being potentially a cheater. That's when the breaking straw with Kawhi Leonard finally happened. And for that, I applaud the Clippers for finally realizing they done wasted their damn time with this fucking loser. It's about damn time they woke up in the year 2025, going into 2026, looking just like fucking me, realizing it's time to move off on this fucking loser. About damn time. Wasted all this time for this guy, taking it up the ass for all this guy's demands and what he wanted to put your championship stakes, your organization stakes at risk. And now you got all these freaking lawsuits, all these different investigations, all these legal issues, all this fact, including today's potential circumventing of the cap. Because you bent over for this dude. You wasted time for this dude. And because of this, you're now facing in trouble to the point you may get fined, you may lose more picks, you may be suspended for doing this shit for him. You bent the knee for one guy that failed to live up to his promise and bringing this organization a championship. Now I'm crashing out. This is what I'm talking about. I can hate how my Chicago Bears do business. I can hate how my Angels and how they're owned by the stupid Artie Moreno. But the last thing I wanted to deal with was my organization, my favorite basketball team, bending the knee to one player. And this dude thinks he's coming out here like he's Al Capone, controlling everything. Now it makes sense why he had that ad with the crown. Because he knew I own the fucking Clippers. I can ask for whatever they want. These clowns, they'll say yes, whatever I tell them. I want a private plane. Yes, Mr. Leonard, if it's going to keep you happy on this team, we'll give you a plane. I want a house. Yes, Mr. Leonard, we'll give you a house. I want a new dog. Yes, Mr. Leonard, here's a nice dog right here. I want tickets to the Padres game. Yes, Mr. Leonard, we'll give you comp ticks. They sacrificed everything for one dude, trading away an MVP and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, trading away a potential chance at a championship and a young core with that the Thunder have now. And you sacrifice that all for this old injury-prone bum that controlled the narrative. He controlled the narrative to get out of San Antonio so he could force him way to Toronto to get out of there. And in that free agency of 2019, he controlled the narrative to get you to agree to his dumbass demands. Because he knew this organization was desperate enough to say, yes, we'll do this. Even though we know long-term it will hurt us. And that's all I gotta fucking say. I'm proud of the Clippers finally realizing they need to move off on this loser. This era has been exhausting, man. For anybody that's watching this and you want to laugh at my pain and suffering, I don't give a fuck. This has been the shit that I had to deal with when it comes to this fucking guy. I have a Kawhi Leonard jersey in here. And when his time is done, I'm going to throw it in the fucking trash. Because that shows me we sacrificed all this dude for fucking nothing. You'll never catch me wearing a Kawhi Leonard jersey out at a Clipper game ever again. And I applaud the same dude for the fucking fans. Never wear a Kawhi jersey out there. Because this guy is a fucking lunatic. If you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this Kawhi Leonard news. Your thoughts on the fact, if you're a Clipper fan, about this shit. And what else that you feel like the Clippers need to do. I keep hearing from the fans, the plan is 2027. Well, you better be damn right the plan is you bring in two other superstars. And hopefully they're fucking better for Kawhi than Kawhi Leonard. And hopefully the Clippers as an organization don't bend the knee to these dudes. And hopefully the Clippers learn their fucking lesson. But I'm gonna get out of here. If you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit that subscribe button if you want to get more Clippers content. I'll try to be more consistent with my Clippers game recap and shit like that. But till then, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.